Welcome everyone. Good afternoon, good morning for the one of you on the United States timelines. We're very happy actually to have you here on the virtual green, and for some of you to have you on a real green by tomorrow. I'm here having the pleasure to introduce a very exciting session. We have high-level presenters, speakers coming from all over Germany for once, and even France. With one step on the other side of the ocean as well. So thank you for being there. Let me introduce you quickly to this session. We started actually last year with KPMG to organize a golf tournament. We actually were a little surprised by the enthusiasm there was actually for such an event, and we added to it an agenda already last year, which we actually have extended this year to the day before. So that's why we are actually sitting together, sometimes only separated by a camera or a screen, and hopefully maybe even in person, as we have the pleasure to have a few guests here in this room, which is also our studio. So a few words on the company for the one of you that are new to DALIM. I mean, we are a company located in Germany, as close to France as you possibly can, because we're just a bridge away from France. We're basically the German suburb of Strasbourg, and therefore quite central on the European base. We are quite international. We do business in all 5 continents, with our largest national market being the United States of America, followed by a number of European countries, and the remainder of which being everything that is southern of the hemisphere, where we have business in Australia and Japan, and also in Latin America, especially in Brazil. So we started as a company in 1985. That's quite a long time ago. In those days, people were talking about computer graphic. There was no Apple Macintosh, for the one of you that actually can even imagine a world without the Mac. But basically, there was nothing like that near any studio or agency, and we were actually buying the computers in the Silicon Valley and programming them on this side of the ocean before shipping and delivering them to customers that would be computer graphic specialists. They were doing a presentation on Ektachrome 35mm slides, for some of whom will remember those distant times. And one day somebody actually bought our system in a printing plant, and all of a sudden we were confronted to RGB to CMYK. From there onwards, we actually learned how to do publishing, how to do packaging, and we never stopped since. These actually take us to the early 90s, where we basically came up with, at the same time as internet was coming along, from a non-internet era, from a basically desktop software to server-based software. That took us actually into the year 2000. We basically went from helping people designing and building graphic art, so basically artworks, to basically helping them automatically transform, repurpose them, and basically eventually store them. That took us into online proofing, asset management, and in our DNA is probably the invention of asset management in 1994. There is also the soft proofing in 2004, followed by a number of innovation, to the point that we actually have been awarded innovation awards from the German government actually nearly 10 times in a row. I think definitely 9 times in a row, and are now actually on a journey where we are actually helping international companies to organize their assets and basically make those complex workflow between creative agencies, production, printing plants, distribution, online, offline, video work seamlessly. So we are present in a multiple spaces. The speech you're going to have today will revolve around what is probably keeping you busy, is how do you stay in business even if there was, who knows, another lockdown? How can you actually continue produce uninterruptedly? And for that we have called for help quite a few experts. Some of them you know already. Uwe, which is coming from the EPDA as a vice president. Sylvia later on, that is going to speak to us as a president of that exciting organization. This will be followed by a presentation from the usual suspects, Amazon Web Services, which actually will help you keeping your data safe and repurposable everywhere. And there is a connection to the green, but I'm not going to tell you right away what it is, and I will leave it to our colleagues later. So tomorrow we'll meet you on the green for one of you that know how to handle a golf ball. And for the one that do not know, you could also join us for the practice, spend a little time on the green, which is all driving us into an interesting lunch. Before we get to there, I would like to show you a green logo again. We have a website that I encourage everyone to take a look at. It's csr.dalim.com. Corporate sustainable responsibility has been at the core of our thought process, not only actually when it's about our own electrical consumption, but also because of what happens around us. We do believe at DALIM that there is a space in the media landscape for the media that are consuming once and never again, i.e. Paper, substrate based, or the media that basically is on electronic media, which is likely to consume for a long time. So we need to be conscious about it, because if we are not, and taken the speed with which the storage are actually taking over the terabytes, the petabytes that are available around the net, we might have a huge environmental problems, and I think this is the IT company that needs to be aware of that. This is, for instance, a projection of the space it takes to keep a few zettabytes online. These are all numbers that all translate at the end of the day in power plants. And the power plants, as you know, a big debate in Europe. It's going to be our ecologists that are going to restart our nuclear power plant. Who would have thought that a few years ago? But this is going to happen. So the same thing goes for the coal production plant, which basically are going to be online for quite some time. But fortunately, when we look at those goals that the United Nations have set, even if they are probably more aimed at people producing consumer goods, I mean, we can still apply it to a company like us. We did, for instance, that, and it was not very complicated, when we adopted our first full electric car. And we had a few extremists in this building that told us, wait a minute, you have an electric car, you're charging it with nuclear power. Is it really reasonable? Can you do better? And then we looked further, and then we bought green energy out of the dam from Switzerland to basically feed our building, which makes us, since 2014, one of the only software company that would be entirely relying on renewable energy for producing software. And that was only the beginning of the trigger of a chain reaction that took us to an internal reflection and focusing on a number of those goals. Some of them where we can actually identify better, like, for instance, in industry innovation, for tomorrow, and that water power, which is probably the most incredible and fascinating source of energy there is, because you are not doing anything else than just using the flow of the water to generate energy. So that took us from redesigning transportation on two wheels in a full electric concept that we have been testing here and there, where even one sample was sold at the other end of Europe a few weeks ago, to basically sourcing biogas inside the building for our heating. This is not going to be cheaper, by the way, than any other gas. I'm not saying, at least it's a biogas. And also encouraging community around us, whether we're talking about a feminine handball team that is in League One, or was in League One, and is continuing to fight its way into League One on the other side of the border in France, to basically team building sessions of that same team in the forest, to tree planting initiatives, really hands-on. We only have not even quite 100 trees at our active, up to date, but I think we are talking now more into the thousands for a very near future. I encourage you to come and see us at the next opportunity, and we'll tell you where we stand on that front. We engage with all the local activities as much as we can, and we even design software to help people at the consumer level to drag a lot less data over the internet. In that particular case, we're speaking about PDF Lite, which I encourage everyone to download, and your friends and the friends of your friends and all your family, because if they have at any point in time a PDF that doesn't fit into an email, that software will actually cut the size sometimes up to 10 times and get it onto every mobile to open, since it's really designed for mobile. That magic behind is the same that we have in our ES and Twist server, and that is being used from the southern tip of Africa all the way to the other side of the world, and we get fantastic feedback. People telling us, hey, does it exist like for a company and an enterprise? That's where we say, yeah, of course, we have that too. But it's a great piece of software to reduce the amount of data that you would actually send to people around the planet. And it's free. That's the best news. I mean, it's completely free. And since we wanted to know how bad are we ourselves with what is remaining in terms of footprint, knowing that we have energy that we actually are buying or updating our fleet with full electric cars, with hybrid cars and everything, where do we stand in terms of footprint? So we did actually use one of those applications, in that case Planetly, with our corporate social responsibility manager during the pandemic. It was in 2020, to basically assess what our footprint would be. And we came to a few conclusions, aiming at first assessing how much it is, then possibly offsetting, and if we can, maybe one day we'll certify it. But I think it's important to first do and then worry after, to do the accounting to say, okay, did we do a lot more or not enough or something like that. So that actually gives this kind of very basic statistic, not a big surprise. I mean, a decent part of the emission are our employees. I mean, that would be normal. We send them also sometimes around the world, so there's travel. And there is a consumption of our own computing power. That equals 700 and something tons of CO2 for what we are concerned, that after all the reduction we did before, so we could assume that if we had done nothing, maybe we would be at 1,500. So that's already a good way. We need to do more. We need to make sure that gets offsetted, and to me the best way to offset is nature. And nature can use a few more trees around the planet without going into the details where. And we invite you to follow us among a few software release, after and between a few software release, to see where is it that we plant lately. Thank you very much. I will hand over to Aristide, who will introduce us to our next speakers.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back. Thank you very much, DALIM, for this invitation. I'm Sylvia Vitale Rotta, CEO of Team Creative Group, an agency 35 years old with a footprint in 4 regions of the world. And I'm also the president of the EPDA, the European Packaging, Branding, Design Association. Who are we? We are different agencies, some big, medium and small, and we all represent design in its purest expertise, going from the branding, the visual graphics, to the structure, the volume, the shape, as well as all the sustainability issues and problem solvings that can be done. EPDA is European, but we have many members worldwide. I'm very happy to be part with Uwe, our vice president, and of course together we try and lead our board members and all our agency members. The EPDA is a citizen, as a personality, as a brand profile. Why? Because we belong to a community. We like to represent all the nationalities, the cultures, all the expertise of design, and above all, what all these agencies bring to brands and clients and the industry. Because if we want to win the fight of the planet, to make it a better world for tomorrow, we have to seriously, all together, need to start designing it to make it as compatible as possible with business as well. We're also lovers, because as designers, we always try and seduce. So the belief is to have the exchange among design professionals as a key element to bring even better solutions to our clients, to the brands, and especially to the consumers. The experience of a community that grows with like-minded people, not people that think the same. We all think very differently, but when we are all together, we work for the same culture and the same values. The passion to create value for the brands, the people that work in the brands, the consumers, and of course the agencies and the designers and the staff that are in these agencies. And of course, to have the enormous expertise and knowledge, hundreds of years when you put all the ages of the designers together in all the agencies, of competence that we give and we obviously sell to our clients and consumers. So what do we say? We connect, we empower, we celebrate European brand design, and we share, we dare, and we shine. Because as design agencies, especially all together, we have to be sharing, we have to dare, and we all have to shine so that the brands and the corporations can shine as well for the consumers and a better planet. We learn and we provide platforms to exchange, to do network, working together, different stakeholders in the branding and packaging value chain. We also have many members who are freelance designers who stay members or are members of the agency. They are all very specific with very specific expertise in packaging and structural and graphics and production, of course. Some of our congresses here, for instance, in Italy, in Taipei, in 2016, before the pandemic. And then we have face-to-face events, physical conferences with business-related topics. We don't only talk about design, we also talk about the business and the finance part of what design brings to consumers and to the planet. And we have different choices of cities, so that Helsinki, Barcelona, Portugal, Warsaw, London, whatever, is always concerned about our events. In May the 20th in Bologna, Italy, I proudly became the president. Thank you to Uwe, who passed me the presidency. And we had our 30-year-old anniversary. We had some fantastic speakers from all over the world. John Glasgow, who did a brilliant presentation on how a brand can touch every heart and consumer in the world. Lots of 80 people were there, which is a lot getting together for design issues. And of course, the planet needs is bringing us even more together. Some different clients were there as well. And here is some of the people that were there for the photo at the end of the day. We have another event on the 21st of October in Nuremberg at Kurz, and there we will actually go back into the crafts of design, because designs are not just on digital or computer. There is still a lot of fantastic crafts, starting from the crayon, the pencil, which is the different methods, as well as the fantastic inks, and how a designer, when he designs, can think of all those techniques. We will be visiting Puma, incredible sports manufacturer agency. We will also be visiting Faber-Castell, the pencils and crayons that made us all love art as kids and as adults. And of course, it would be great if people join us for this great event. We thank our incredible partners. All the people on this page have helped the association become what it is and last for 30 years and for many, many more years. Thank you very much. I will now pass on to Uwe.
Thank you, Sylvia.
Thank you.
Well, thanks a lot. My name is Uwe Melichar. I'm running an agency in Hamburg. I'm focusing on sustainable packaging solutions, consulting companies, developing packages, and I'm the Vice President of EPDA. And today, I'm very, very proud to present you our book, the Design Agency Boost book. So you've already seen it. It's standing here. So here it is, the first ever copy in my hands. And look at these wonderful colored edges and everything. So you really have to have a closer look into it. I will introduce it briefly. So there was a conference edition, a paperback we had in Bologna in May. But now we have the hardcover. And the most important is the content of this book. So we had about 45 contributors making this book happen. Authors that wrote articles are authors from brands. So there was Colgate-Palmolive, Coca-Cola, Nestle, Carrefour writing articles for us, but also from the industry. And here I want to say loudly thank you to our partner, DALIM Software, who made this book possible. This is really important, and we appreciate that really a lot. Yeah, let's look a little bit inside. There are our 10 beliefs illustrated in texts. So we have about 45 texts talking about agency setups and positioning, talking about the agency-client relationship, agency services, but also how we act as a member of the packaging value chain or value branding value chain, how the transformation happens from physical to digital, but also in terms of sustainability. All this you can find in the book. It's worth having a look into it. The process, how that all came together, is interesting too. That wasn't as easy as you may think if you have a book in your hand. The printing process was exciting. Claudia, our general manager, who really did a lot for this book, went to Fulda, to CreArt, to the printing source, and met up with Thomas from the Huber Group, who took care that the colors also remain after a little bit of sunlight came onto it. So exciting process. Not to forget to mention that it's designed by two young women from Kiel, from the Muthesius Schule, who have their Studio Ajot today, and they designed the book. We are brand designers, we are packaging designers, we are not book designers, so we handed it over as it should be to the experts. That's all about the book. And now I would like to take you by the hand to follow me in the world of sustainable package design, sustainable packaging as such. And here I want to start with this little guy here. Have you ever seen that, Sylvia? Do you know that?
Yes, seen it.
This is from Tetra Pak, dates back to the 1970s. It's called Righello. And Tetra Pak promised you can just throw it into the woods and it will biodegrade. And that is not true. If you look into the Swedish woods today, you can still find some of those Righellos. And that shows a little bit, that we should not trust everything we hear from the industry. So we should better look twice and ask some questions. And I got this from the Museum of Failure. So also a recommendation, look into it. We had Samuel West, the director of the museum, in one of our live flash
Events,
events earlier this year. So what does sustainable packaging mean? First of all, what does packaging mean? Packaging means we have to protect the valuable product. We have to take care of convenience for the shoppers, so open, reseal. We have to give space for communication so that you know what's inside and why you should buy this product and not the other one. That's all, the given framework. And on top of that, we have to take care that all this happens in a sustainable environment, in a sustainable thinking. So I have 3 examples. Product protection. This is a very nice story. Van Moof It's a bike company. They had the problem that their bikes, especially when they shipped them to the US, got well damaged. And the clever trick they did, they printed an LED screen on their cardboard boxes, and all of a sudden they've been handled with much more care, and everything went well. And from 4 out of 10 damaged bikes, they brought it down to 1. Well, that's a pretty good example of what you can do with simple tricks. Product protection, another example. This is a coverage for vegetables and fruits. It's a lipid, well, consists of lipids, of fat, and it extends the shelf life without using any kind of plastics or, well, artificial material, whatever. So looking into convenience, we have to take care, definitely, of inclusion. Society is getting older, but also people who cannot move as we can needs to get access to products, and this is an important field of packaging where we as EPDA look into, but every designer should have a close look into. Communication, nice project from the Netherlands. They designed a package for Nestlé and just left out the whole, well, inspiration or branding part more or less on the label. Just put a QR code onto this Nescafé and telling the people via videos and stuff that it's grown respectfully what you find inside. So sustainability, that's a wild and really complex field. You see all these words here: accumulation, plastic tax, use of recyclate, reusable solutions, food safety. All of these topics have to be considered when talking about sustainable packaging or when designing a package. So I have picked some examples for you to illustrate what we can do, what is status quo, what can we expect tomorrow. Let's look into resources. This is a material, agricultural waste, glued together by mushrooms, by mycelials. Works very well, and at the end of the life of a package, it just can biodegrade in a natural environment. And this is a coffin, so even for human beings, it's possible to biodegrade with your well, furniture around you at the end of your life. But it's also something we find in packaging. Seedlip, a non-alcoholic spirit, uses it for an event packaging. And we did this for our conference in Bologna. We have these little flower pots, and we did an experiment together with our dear partner Kurz, who's also involved in the book and will be our host for the next conference. They started experimenting to put their wonderful foil, which is really very, very thin and doesn't harm the environment at all, to this material, and it biodegrades together with the material at the end of its life. It's an experiment. We're not there, but it's a starting point. There are a lot of other materials like Sulapak. It's it can be injection molded, but it's on a wooden base. There are wood foam, for example, from Stora Enso. This is a substitute for styrofoam on a wood base. Then there is Woodley. It's a foil, also made on a wooden basis. So it's kind of a new sort of plastic, which is not made from fossil resources, but from renewable ones. Yeah, I could talk on for another hour. Coconut husk, algae, avocado seeds, all these materials are basis for new packaging materials. You can look that up if you want in the book from our friend Sasha Peters in Materials in Progress. Yeah, what we can also do at the end of the life of a package is trying to use the material again. That works in Europe very well for paper, plastic, glass, and metal. Paper, about 83% recycling rate. Plastic is still a problem, and that's a quality problem. We don't have the time to really deep dive into it. But what's interesting, coming back to our little Righello friend, is that the beverage cartons are recycled by 51% in Europe. But I actually doubt that a little bit. The numbers are from the Alliance for Beverage Cartons and the Environment. So that sounds like that. Well, I don't want to get deeper into that. Interesting enough, Rittersport, who has a fantastic packaging today, which is recyclable, and they are cradle-to-cradle certified with their product. Nevertheless, they look into paper packaging, and that's because the consumer thinks paper good, plastic bad. And they're still in an experiment phase due to shelf life. The barrier for the chocolate needs to be right. They are on a very good way, but it still takes some time to make this coming to our shelves in a broader scale. But funny enough, you can see it on the left-hand side or right-hand side of my picture. They already had a cellophane packaging back in the 50s, 1950s, 1960s. So sometimes to get forward means also to do one step back and look into your own past. Construction is an issue. We see that 3D molded paper plays an important role. This shoebox can be reused. You can plant it together with a package with your plants after use. There are other material or construction forms like paper foam, where paper material is injection molded and offers new dimensions and aesthetics. You can also use that for food. It's food grade. Imagine if all the advent calendars in the world would have this material, which is biodegradable, would replace the plastic on the back. That would be massive, must say. Yeah, and then my favorite topic, it's the paper bottle. Carlsberg is, talking a lot about their paper bottle invention. Funny enough, again, look at this. This is a paper bottle, and it dates back to the year 1937. There we already had the paper bottle, 3 molded paper material, but there's no liquid inside, but powder. And this is the problem. This is the first one I ever got hold of, and here the barrier is still missing. If you look at all these, there's L'Oreal, there's Absolut, there's Bacardi, Coca-Cola with Ades. All the companies are looking into paper bottles, but I'm not sure if everybody has the real solution. If you look at this, for example, it's just greenwashing. It's a plastic bottle covered by a nice paper surface. Life cycle, this is something where we can really change the world if we can extend the life cycle of a package by reusing it, refilling it, then we achieve a lot. There were a couple of ideas with very solid packaging, like this memo box. Then we had the Shark Tank, or in Germany it's called Höhle der Löwen. We had these 2 people presenting their concept of reusing cardboard shipping boxes. I have my doubts if this is really working the way they are doing. There are a lot of things to be improved, but it's a starting point. But I would like to show you Wir-Kiste Kreis. I must admit I'm a little bit involved into this project. I was partner for the development of the box. This is a box you can fold up very simply and fold back again as well. And the clever thing here is that there is no label going directly onto the box, and there's no glue to close the box, but it's all with a banderole, and the banderole can also carry the brand message and all necessary information from the sender. It should be a platform, so all the Ottos or even Amazons or the Chibos or DMs, they can use this box, and it'll be returned at a brick and mortar store. So it's a whole ecosystem around this idea. There's a digital side of it. I don't want to get too much into detail here. It's a flexible return system. It's a scalable application, and this is for most of all, it's circular. If each and every package would be sent in Wirkeste Kreis, that would mean 1.3 billion B2C orders. If they are used 5 times, then we could really, really save a lot of CO2 for our world. But I mean, this is just a calculation. Last but not least, packaging as a service. We know all that from the milkman system way back in time. A new version of it is Loop, starting from TerraCycle in the USA. If you want to know more about that, our EPDA will be on stage at Fachpack, 28th of September. Join us, it's worth coming. We have Loop on stage. We have someone, Tommy from Häagen-Dazs as the brand owner, but we also have the designer from our members from Touch Agency in UK. So they started like allowing only solid packages that can be cleaned and reused, and they asked all the companies that participate, that's Unilever, Mondelez, that's Heinz, Kraft Heinz, that's name it, everybody is participating, Nivea, Procter & Gamble, they're all there, and also Häagen-Dazs, and here's a little calculation, that's the container made by Touch Agency. So yes, the packaging cost is different from what we know. It's $8.3 for one package, but if you use it 100 times, then the costs go dramatically down and will even save not only money but also our environment in a way. And this is the whole ecosystem again. The digital part is very, very important so that you can return it, get rewarded, and so on. And also digital, and that's my final project I would like to introduce to you. Some of you may have seen it already in Europa Park in Rust earlier this year. That's the Holy Grail. That is the idea of having a digital passport with the package. It's an invisible barcode printed with marked pixels on the printing of the package. And that does not only include information about price and product and everything, and, but also about the material of the package. And that means, on the one hand side, you can engage the consumer. They can use their smartphone and get funny informations and whatever. But for us, more important is that at the end of its life, of the life of the package, the material can be detected very, very fast. And so this whatever, let's say this Rigello bottle can get where it belongs to, not into the Swedish woods, but into here a plastic bin with the right plastic. There are many recipes. All right, finally, one project I did at the beginning of the pandemic crisis we had. I thought it's good to develop a mask made out of cardboard. It's very convenient to wear. You can put it into the recycling bin later on. Unfortunately, we all didn't know that we need to wear FFP2 masks, so that it was a short story, the whole thing. It was kind of a fail, but so that ties in with the beginning of my story. It was taken into the Museum of Failure from Samuel West, and it's now part of the exhibition. So try again, fail better. We're all on a long journey, and yeah, and I can just encourage you to go on. Thank you very much, and we're happy to see you at one of our EPDA events. You can talk to Claudia Josefs, our general manager, and ideally join us if you like. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
We have some questions. Is it okay if we ask some questions?
Absolutely.
Yes. I will want to start by the Holy Grail. Question to you both. Where do you see at the moment the bottleneck? Is it more on the brands accepting this kind of new processes? Or do you think it needs regulations? What do you think is missing so we have the Holy Grail, because it sounds exciting?
Well, so far as I heard, it's a problem of a business model. So somebody has to pay for the party. The initiator is GS1. That's they are connected with the retail, or they're an organization for the retail business, a non-commercial organization. They invented that, but there are also more partners involved. And well, if they ask each and every agency to pay for each and every design where they apply this barcode to, then I think it won't have a big future, this whole thing. So if this can be done in the right way, then I think it'll be quite fast. There are tests running in wholesale in the US, some other drugstores and supermarkets, and they are 8 times faster at the cash desk and so on. There are many advantages. So I hope that does it answer your question?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much. Question to you, Sylvia. As an owner of an agency, you have a lot of brands coming to you, of course, and packaging was always, as we see it in university, costs. And this is 2 questions actually. How do you manage to get people from the seeing as at the cost to seeing it as something value added, and also something that needs to be sustainable? And the second part of the question is, how does the consumer perceive sustainable packaging?
A very large question. However, what is very important is that one has to remember that packaging is for people. Packaging is not there to be decorated. It's not there to look good on a shelf. Packaging is there for people, because you cannot have, especially in the food industry, but in a lot of industries, you cannot just put products out there. The bulk times where you would buy a lot of products in bulk is a possibility, but in the world we all live in now, you need to protect, and even more so after the pandemic, where the hygiene measures also protect it from humidity, from little insects, from all sorts of things. So packaging is essential. Then you say, how can that be the best, at the best service of the consumer and of the brands, and of course the feasibility of producing it, printing it, making it look good with good design. So that is part of the value of the product. The better the communication, what you say on it, the better the photography that says what's inside, the convenience of opening, shutting, the convenience of putting it in the trash. All that part is part of the product experience. You cannot have a good product experience if the packaging that actually brings it to your house, into your fridge, or onto your table is not a good experience. So that's why packaging and design of the brand is essential for a brand and a product. How do consumers look at sustainability? Everybody talks about sustainability. When the crunch comes to it, we cannot go as fast as what we could go, because there is an issue of finance. Somewhere along the line, it takes money to develop ecologically correct packaging. Also, some of the stuff that comes out is not recyclable because the governments are not putting out enough money into developing recyclability. And also, unfortunately, sometimes the new supports cost a bit more money to put into place than what they have had since 40, 50 years or 30. So the consumer talks about it, he wants it, he demands it, but then you have the crunch of the financial reality. However, things are moving, and yes, we have to be very honest with what we say on packaging. When we say it's totally recyclable, when we say it's respecting the planet, the resources, or whatever, brands, marketeers, design agencies really have to start to be honest, because consumers are now very savvy, and they really get upset when they realize, like Uwe's example, that it's not as ecological, planet-friendly as what they wanted or wished for, or that the consequences are even bigger. So it's a long answer to a long question.
Thank you very much, and I think that's a perfect, in my last question, it's perfect transition. I just got the email from Claudia, hello to Claudia, about the trends in retail. It's the emailing of the EPDA, and the number 1 trend is authenticity, which is leading into question. And my question there is, is it simpler for brands just starting out to be authentic, transparent? And how do you witness this with bigger brands where maybe there's more stakeholders into it? So do you have something there?
Okay, I'll answer again because we are experts in the FMCG world. Authenticity does not just come from transparency, okay? Some foods, some products cannot be in transparent packs because, of course, the light would affect the product inside. So authenticity can come from the touch and feel of the paper, the pack itself, the graphics, the photography, the feeling, and just marketeers telling the truth about what's inside, telling the truth in the photography, the typography, making it look great, attractive, but telling the truth. For too many years, there's been too much information on packs, and consumers just see it like information. And so authenticity also comes from being very essential to being very truthful, very simple, focused message, and true to the product, what's inside, and the consumer that will buy it. And then if the paper, the material, and everything else can be, then that is even great. Startups are not easier to make authentic packs. If anything, the bigger brands have got a lot of know-how, research, R&D. It's just a matter, again, of the business model, the time, the wish as well to break with the old rules and to go into the new ones. So authenticity, everybody can do it. The truth is to be truthful about it.
Thank you very much. Round of applause.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The team is giving a thumbs up. Okay, welcome back, everyone. Now a contribution from DALIM as well. I want to start right off the bat with a slide with a bunch of numbers, and I want you to imagine what could these numbers be. You can think out loud. You can think for yourself in front of your screen. I don't know where you are currently in the world, but actually, what we see here is huge numbers. The total numbers of websites we currently have, the numbers of products listed on Amazon, new products launched every year with those packagings, the number of direct mails sent, blogs published every day. Here's an even more shocking. This slide contains too much information actually to be read out loud. It's everything what happens in 60 seconds on the internet. It's quite crazy. Maybe you saw this slide already. I mean, just have a quick look through the numbers. What is happening on Google, what is happening on Facebook, what is happening on YouTube, on those social platforms. And yes, between all of this, what we really want as organizations, as brands, as companies, whatever how we call ourselves, is that consumers only look at our content and our content only. Yeah, you bet. And it doesn't matter if you're creating a billboard ad, it doesn't matter if you're creating a packaging, it doesn't matter whatever you're creating as a piece of content, you want consumers to look at it. But in reality, we have the attention span of a goldfish. Actually, it's disrespectful to the goldfish because our attention span is less. So the problem we have is that still consumers can buy our products if they don't know they exist. And it's our content that will let them know. And even if these numbers are shocking in the beginning, would you really imagine a world like this? Where you just type in something into Google and you don't get anything out of it? A world like only without content doesn't exist. And it doesn't matter if you're typing in Google, it doesn't matter if you are trying to choose the next restaurant. If you don't have the pictures of the food you're going to eat, you don't want to go there. So today, content needs to be consistent, needs to be high quality, it needs to be engaging, it needs to answer audience questions, it needs to build trust, it needs to do so much different things. And at the same time, rules are there, not to be broken this time, but rules are there. Our content needs to follow rules. And here I just put some random dimensions
on the different platforms, but I'm sure that in the packaging industry, you have industry rules, you have law, you have so many different rules that you have to follow and that are good for the consumer, actually. So let's recap. We are overflooded with content. We want our content to stand out. We have the attention span of a goldfish. We can't do business without content. We need high quality content. And we have to follow rules. So now, picture this. Here's your content. What you have is an amazing team full of skillful people and the best agencies in the world. And the communication between those people is just the best. There's no lack of communication. Everyone is on the same page. Everyone is on the same. They know exactly what the other is thinking. And alongside that, you have the best technology, just to collaborate, to automate. So what I just explained to you is what is called content marketing operations. And here's a little definition of it. Sylvia, you can take a picture of this. It's the combined foundation of people, processes, and technology that allows an organization to effectively and efficiently maintain its content lifecycle from start to finish. And you know what? I have a bold move. We think we can automate all of this. But first, we have to do some homeworks. So, as I said, people are the foundation. People need roles, they need responsibilities, and it will really depend on the team how much responsibility and roles you have. And don't forget your agencies, they also have their roles and responsibilities. Then you need the processes. Your teams need processes to go forward. And it's actually your teams that will define those processes all together. And finally, you have technology. Technology is not there to replace people. It's not there to replace processes. It's just to make people collaborate better and automate processes where we can. And in the end, what we are trying to achieve is this. We want all our content to be centralized in a place where we can find it and take action anytime from anywhere in the world. It's easier said than done, I guess. So let's framework it out. At DALIM, we have come up with a framework that we call the 4 Ps, which is actually here to endorse the content lifecycle. The first is that you plan, you will produce, you will publish your content, and then you will purpose it. I will come back to this later. So how do you do that? This is some screenshots of our software for the people that are introduced to it. The first step to collaboration is a good brief, a good project brief. There you will define all your team members, you will define the different roles you have, the different responsibilities, and then you will give all the qualitative and quantitative information of your project. And when we are finished with planning, we will go into the production phase. And here we have some amazing integrations in the work where you can use our software and partner up with Adobe to let designers create in their favorite tools all the content you need. And it's directly connected to ours as well. And I guess one of our bread and butters is collaboration. Without collaboration, we are nothing. The content will not go out without us reviewing it, without us approving it, just because we need to be on the same page. And here again, since many, many, many years, we are helping people to collaborate from anywhere in the world. And the last part I said was about publishing. So here you have one of the latest brochures we did, and workflows are here for the win. First, what you see is that we will, from this one brochure, create a print. Then for the other brochure, we will create something for the web, which will be a bit lighter than the print. And then our sales reps also need this brochure to be able to send it via email. So we will compress it to the smallest we can with our technologies like PDF Lite that were introduced during the intro. And because our content deserves a second life, I said before we need to purpose it, but actually what we need to do is to repurpose it. So it's also what we call content recycling. So again, we are going back to the sustainable topic, and even with content. So you all get fooled by the guides of 2022. In 2023, the guides will be the same, and all coming back to the same thing. We just want our content to be actionable, to be there, that we can use search, find, and yeah, basically that's it. That was a very small introduction pitch. I want to say thank you to all the people that are in the chat, to thank you to all the clients that we have that do this day in, day out, and they are really the heart of why we are doing this. And keep in mind that every installation we do around the world have different processes because different teams are working on it, and the teams have different content needs. Thank you very much.
So, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back from the break. I hope you're all refreshed, had some drinks, a bit of food, and that you're ready for an afternoon of talks that will continue with this first presentation I'm doing about the DALIMES video viewer. So just allow me to introduce myself quickly. My name is Liam Bell. I'm an apprentice here at DALIM Software, and I work in the marketing department. So today, I'm going to talk to you about video production with DALIMES, and more specifically, how the video viewer can benefit your video production processes. So by the end of this presentation, I hope I'll have convinced you that having a video strategy is quite important and that you have a bit more of an idea of what kind of tools you can use to help pump it up. So let's begin with a quick look back in the past, not too long ago, at 2019, where we started our little pandemic. Which gave us a bit of an accelerated digital transformation in many domains. One of them that was most notable was the world of videos. Since 2020, or since the end of 2019, video has been on the rise as one of the, if not the most popular format of content that users consume. And 92% of internet users aged between 16 and 64 watch video content online every week. The issues that companies such as ourselves face with these drastic changes is the question of how we can adapt quickly and efficiently to these transformations. Alice did mention some rules a bit earlier about what you need to think of. You have your output channels, where you're going to post your content, the rules of these social media platforms, the rules of your industry and your brand identity, legal regulations, and so on and so forth. And by the time you've actually spent in meetings figuring all this out, well, you've lost already because you have some teenager already just picking up a phone, filming a quick video of themselves and posting it and going viral within a day. One of the main evolutions that has been going on in the world of video is a new form of video that I think is quite important and I want to have a bit of a look at. If any of you remember, back from 2012 to 2015, Vine appeared kind of out of nowhere and became the precursor of what we now know as the short video format from today. And this new social platform boomed all over the internet with users from all over the globe making videos and posting them online. Through this app, people turned into stars, and pretty soon you could see these videos on every single platform everywhere. So you had compilations on YouTube, people reposting stuff on Facebook. And yeah, these short video loops had a maximum duration of 6 seconds, which made the creative process quite interesting of this. And it was a very accessible kind of app because all you needed to use it was a phone, which are the two main key features of Vine. The app wouldn't last though and would shut down in 2015, but it at least carved the path for its successors and served as a template. So today we now have TikTok with videos such as these.
Like my costume?
Yo, that's so cool. How are you doing that?
Got a Nimbus 2000.
Oh, I see.
Mirror.
Wait, is that my longboard?
Oh, Longboardium Leviosa!
Zach, my longboard! Come on, man, get back here! Dude, not cool!
So yeah, launched in 2017, TikTok now counts about 1 billion active users a month. 16.9 hours per month per user is spent on TikTok, and these averages are only for Android users. So you can imagine that on a much broader spectrum of all devices, you have a lot more viewers and a lot more time spent on these apps. As I said earlier as well, I believe that there's 167 million hours in one internet minute that are watched on TikTok. The second such platform is YouTube. We launched YouTube Shorts in 2020. YouTube decided to launch Shorts to rival TikTok that had been growing in popularity for the last 3 years. And this corresponds to when YouTube had to rethink how to gain more viewers during the pandemic. So the short video format was the most apt decision to take. YouTube, the platform itself, counts 2 billion active users a month, average, with just shy of a whole day spent per month on the app. For Shorts, you have 15 billion views per day, which is not a negligible number. Last but not least is Instagram with Reels, that also launched in 2020. And yeah, with 1.4 billion active users a month on the app, 11.2 hours per month spent on the app, and Instagram averages the amount of time that users spend on the app at 30 minutes a day. So you have these 3 platforms with an immense audience. You have millions of people who are there. All you have to do is reach out and tap into it. And if these numbers aren't enough to convince you, well, they should, but I think these numbers should convince you that it is important nowadays, more than ever, to have a video strategy. And if you don't have one yet, I strongly urge you to start thinking about implementing one. So what is the objective that we have here when thinking about videos? Well, we have our 4 main goals, which is to produce high-quality content. We want to deliver this content over multiple channels in multiple formats. We also want to create buy-in with our stakeholders to get them interested and invested in what we're doing. And we also want to work under tight deadlines. So that's the name in the game. How we envision this is that we have our marketing team or our production team who are working hand in hand with fluid communication. So, of course, in an ideal world, that's how it would work, but there are some problems to this in practice. The first being the use of different tools. You might be working with different editors from agencies or freelance people or even internally. So you have different tools. You might be using Adobe while your editor is using DaVinci. You get different formats of videos, which are sometimes incompatible with one another. You have to work around different aspect ratios. You have to think about the whole process of how you take a video that was filmed for a vertical video and how you can flip that around to make it horizontal. And last but not least, you have to work with different file size restrictions. For example, Instagram has a file restriction of 4 gigabytes. So how do you compress your video and make it so that you can post it there? Well, with DALIMES, we do that through the use of workflows. Our workflows can take a file and then through different kind of manipulations, we can change the formats of the videos, we can compress the file size of the videos, we can work on the aspect ratios and make them fit for different channels. Another of the main issues that we have when producing content is lost files. Because either you're sending emails to an editor who then sends it to a colleague of his, you get the work email that he's working on in between, and then you get a second email from the main editor, and then you don't know what file is what nor where it is. Well, we've solved that issue as well with our digital asset management. The goal here is to have everything we need in one single place, a single source of truth, if you like. And lastly, the main issues I'm going to be focusing on today are delays and endless email chains. These are really the crux of communication errors and causing problems of not having the right things at the right time. And yeah, the solution we have to that is the DALIMES video viewer. So I'm going to take a bit of a deeper look at the video viewer itself and tell you a bit about how it works and what you can find in it. So, because I like myself that much, I've decided to use one of the videos we made of me as an example. So this is the basic video viewer as you'll see it in ES.
Really you?
Well, it was a few months ago. So yeah, the video viewer presents itself like this. It's quite a simple interface when you look at it. So you have your main screen here in the middle with the video itself, a control bar at the bottom, and a toolbar at the top with annotations and comments on the sidebar on the right. If we take just a closer look at the control bar at the bottom, it works like any classical progress bar you see on the video. You have your play, skip buttons, you can control your volume, you have options that you can select, for example, if you have subtitles that you want to show as closed captions, and it gives you a few basic information about the video, such as how many frames you have in your video, what the current frame you're on, and what the frame rate of your video is. That will be important a bit later on. Now, for the annotations, there are just a few simple tools. Firstly, you can hide or show annotations, because when you're working on your video and you have annotations popping up left and right, well, it doesn't really make working on a video easy when you have to look behind them. So being able to show and hide them is quite useful. And then you have two basic annotation tools, one where you can just add a little pin anywhere on the video, write a comment as you can see on the screen right now, or you can draw shapes on the video. So if you want to highlight a specific area or show something moving or give an idea through shapes, you can do that as well. You can't quite see here, but you also have an option to hide the controller as well. If you're moving around on the video and you need to pinpoint something just behind it, then there's that as well for you. To the right side of this, you have, well, as I said, the sidebar, which contains all the annotations that you have. So you can see who's writing what and when. And you can also reply to these annotations either by clicking on reply in the sidebar here or directly under the annotations on the screen itself. When you're working on a file, you may have to edit it, and then you create revisions of these files. So being able to work in the same space with these revisions is also very important, which is why you can upload revisions directly onto your file, and they will appear in the revisions tab at the top here. You can then either view whichever revision you would like or compare them between each other. When comparing them, it looks something like this. You can either have different views, either a side-by-side view as you have here, which allows you to see the video kind of simultaneously, and you can clearly see the difference from one version to the other. Or you could even have an overlay view, which allows you to have a bar over your video, which allows you to see the differences in real time from one video to the other. A really cool feature that I particularly like about the video viewer is the sync functionality, which allows you to sync up two videos together. So if you have two different versions where you have a playback of a certain section, you can sync them at specific moments, so that if you add, say, a few seconds in one video, you can still have both same sections in both videos playing at the same time. And the last feature that I want to talk about is the approval function that you can see at the top right corner here as well. That is for the decision maker in your team who is in charge of approving or rejecting different files, who can say, well, this file is good, we can publish it. All you have to do is click on approve, and then your file is approved and ready to be published. Now, to prove that I'm not just saying words out of nothing, we have been doing this ourselves for quite a while. So we have multi-channel content, as you probably know. We use multiple platforms, such as YouTube, Instagram, and also LinkedIn. So we prepare different video content for all of these platforms that we publish at the same time, for example, for an event such as Euro. And of course, for everything that is normal video production, it's what we do for our video series. For example, the how-to video series, where we did 4 videos so far. The 5th one just got published today, actually, if you're curious. And yeah, that is what we do. So to conclude on this subject, I would say that video is an extremely important medium to take control of today. Mastering this domain can be quite a tricky thing to do, as we've seen that we have certain technological evolutions that can be harder for us to adapt to quickly and efficiently, harder than it is for our consumers, for example, who can do that at the drop of a hat. That being said, when done right, it can be quite an amazing way to leverage a very broad audience, and we've seen that we have a very broad audience in the millions to billions of users, which is why we strive to offer the right tools to empower people to tap into these domains and be in control of them at all times. Thank you very much, and if you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them.
Welcome to Amazon's Culture of Innovation. So my name is Marie-Christine Kipper. I'm an account executive for AWS, and I'm really excited to speak to you guys today about this topic. So let's start with Amazon's mission. Amazon's mission is to be the Earth's most customer-centric company. And if you look at this mission, it's fairly broad, right? It really speaks to no particular customer, no particular type of industry or segment. So it could be small to medium businesses, it could be large enterprises, and any type of industry. Amazon deals with a lot of different customers. And so we really like to have this broad mission to make sure that we can encompass all of different individuals and customers that we interact with. But if you take another look at it, it's fairly specific. It does have a very singular focus on the customer. We really want to put the customer in the center of everything. So our customer centricity is really the one thing that aligns to all of our different aspects of our business. And we really hold that near and dear to our hearts. So where does innovation begin? We really want to dive deep and get a great understanding of our customers. So what are their needs? What are their pain points? And how can we solve those? So we would really like to say what we would like to start with the customer and work backwards. And it's really about being close to our customers, asking them, what is it, what they really need? And really get that deep understanding of their situation, their context, so we continue to innovate on their behalf. Our goal here is to make sure that they are at the center of everything. We're continuing to create a delightful customer experience. So, in 2016, Jeff Bezos wrote in his share letter that customers are always beautifully, wonderfully dissatisfied. So it means no matter what you're doing, your customer may love it, but if you create something better, they probably love that a little bit more. And so we're always looking to see what else can we solve for our customers. What else can we do? And we want to make sure that we continue that drive and desire to make sure that we're continuing to innovate on behalf of our customers. Really putting the customer in the center of all things we do and all things that we deliver. So we're just not inventing for invention's sakes, right? We want to make sure that we get a deep understanding of our customers' needs and those pain points. They're unique, and we want to make sure that we understand what they really want and what they need, and continue to deliver those results to our customers. So let's take a look at Amazon's core businesses, right? And if you take a look at this screen, they're very broad. So we got things like e-commerce, Amazon Fresh, consumables, physical retail with Amazon 5-star stores, and we have devices like Amazon Echo, Alexa, Kindle, and of course AWS with its 200 plus features and services. And when you take a look at these, someone would say, they don't necessarily fit together. they're all a little over the place, right? But actually, they're all centered about one and the same thing. All of these branches of our businesses have stemmed from really having that customer focus and really trying to figure out how we can continue to delight these customers and solve these pain points for them. So being open, and again, this steams back to our mission for having that customer centricity, has really allowed us to branch out into a lot of different avenues. One item that really stems from that is the Amazon Go store. It's not like we said to say, hey, let's get into convenience store space, right? It's more what's the pain point of shopping? How can we solve that particular pain point for customers? And as we started to think about that, we were like, what point or what aspect of shopping do people really dislike? I really hate standing in line. Personally, I do really hate standing in line, especially when I'm in a hurry. So how can we solve that problem? And just trying to solve for that one particular pain point, the Amazon Go store was born. And we have these cashier-less store where people can walk in, grab things, and go. So a lot of innovations and a lot of different businesses that we're involved in, again, really stem from what customer centricity and having that customer-obsessed focus. Cheers. So, when thinking about the customer-obsessed focus and how we continue to innovate for our customers, we also want to ask ourselves, what needs do our customers have now? But also, what will their need be in the future? So we like to focus on what we consider to be durable needs. These durable needs are things like price, convenience, selection, and those are presented here on the flywheel that you can see. They're based on our retail flywheel. And if you think about how this works, it starts with the customer experience. If you create a really great customer experience, then going to then that's going to drive additional traffic. And if you have additional traffic of customers, then you get more sellers. Sellers are definitely want to be on your platform if they know they're reaching a lot of different individuals and a lot of different customers. And with those additional sellers, we have additional selection, and that additional selection also feedbacks to our customer experience. So that holistic approach really creates a lot of additional growth. And with that growth, we can repurpose that. We can rescale and scale out. And as we do that, we are able to lower our cost structure. And with that lower cost structure, we can pass those savings onto our customers. And again, to continue, create an additional better customer experience for them. So as you can see, it really creates this closed flywheel by really focusing on those durable needs for our customers. Yeah, AWS is another great example for this. And the durable needs around AWS tend to be our bread and depth for services, security, reliability, scalability, all of our different features that our customers have come to know us and love about AWS. So, as we continue to grow, we continue to look at different aspects of our business and the different features that we're offering to continue to provide the next level of services for our customers. How can we else continue to innovate on their behalf? How can we look around those corners to see what's the best next feature? Or how else can we continue to grow those aspects for their businesses? As you can see, over the time, we had at least 115 product price reductions. We have 200 fully featured services. We have over 100,000 partners to assist our customers across the globe. And we have had a lot of significant new features and releases over the whole time. So we've had 2,000 plus features released in 2020 alone. So we continue to innovate and continue to make a better customer experience for our AWS customers as well. So now that we've got that level set and kind of grounded in your customer-centric approach, let's dig into how we actually organize ourselves here around innovation. It really boils down to 3 different elements. The first one is our culture, really speaks to our customer obsession. The principles that we believe in and kind of the way we guide ourselves on a daily basis to make sure we're continuing to have that customer centricity and focus. The second part is our mechanisms. You need things to play. You need things in place to make sure that you're really turning those ideas into actionable items. And finally, we'll dig into our architecture and the way that we structure ourselves to make sure that we can have that speed and agility in business. Sorry, I'm very thirsty today. So, let's start with our culture. You need the people to operate a system of innovation and give them a unifying set of beliefs. One of the mechanisms that we have used to drive that consistency in our culture is our focus on our customer and our leadership principles. At AWS and Amazon, we hold ourselves and each other responsible for demonstrating these 16 leadership principles in action every day. So these leadership principles describe how Amazon and AWS does business, how we want leaders to lead, and how we keep customer in the center of every decision that we make. You notice that these are just the headlines of these leadership principles. Each has a descriptive line of text behind them, and you can read them by going to the link that's shared on the left. Our leadership principles start with customer obsession, but there's no real order or hierarchy to them. You also might notice there's some tension between some of these leadership principles. For example, diving really deep could potentially slow down bias for action. How do you simultaneously dive deep and think big? We have leadership principles about disagreeing and committing. Well, our leadership principles were never designed to be harmonious. And in fact, they're meant to be used together in order to make us really focus on the customer and make faster and higher quality decisions. We use these guide spots in our decisions and weigh the priorities that we need to think about the time we need to make a decision. They help us frame conversations and decisions that are often really complex, and also force us to look problemlessly from multiple different angles. But once we get that decision, we want everybody to commit. And regardless of what side of the decisions you were on, really need to commit to the decision that made and then focus of all our energy to the end. You also notice that we say our leadership principles unless you know better ones. Well, our leadership principles are stayed fairly consistent, but they aren't set in stone. They've changed over the time as Amazon businesses also changed. At the end of the day, what these leadership principles really do is provide us with a common language. And as I said, we really use them every day. I want to dive into one of them in detail now, just to give you an idea of what they really look like in practice. So I start off with the first one on the list, which is customer obsessions, my personal favorite. This leadership principle really helps set the tone for all other leadership principles and for everything that we do at Amazon and AWS. It starts by saying that we put the customer at the center of everything we do, and we work backwards from there. So it sets an expectation of tirelessly working to create incredible customer experiences, because today's wow becomes quickly tomorrow's ordinary. And customers are only loyal until they find a better way. We use that specific word, obsess over customers. It's very deliberate. It's not just good enough to think about your customers, but you really have to consistently keep your focus on their needs, on their opportunities, on what they want, and on their pain points in life. And you really need to strive to surprise and delight them in everything that you do, and that every day. So this leadership principle leads, or is really the North Star, I would say, that helps us focus on just those things which are important for the customer in the end. I want to share an anecdote with you. This one shows, the customer obsession in a really real way, I would say. So back in the days of Amazon, Jeff Bezos encouraged whatever we gathered in a conference room of a meeting, that there should always be an empty chair in the conference room. Why? Yeah, I see those faces. Why? And we're reserving it in the way for the most important person in the room, the customer. This was symbolic, but a really powerful and visible reminder that framed the decision that we're going to make in that meeting. Not what's going to be the best decision for our business, only for the customer, because he or she is the important one. So, now that you know a little bit more about our culture, let's dive into the next element of how we organize ourselves around innovation, which is our mechanisms. And so mechanisms are encoded behaviors that really helps us to turn those good intentions into actions. You know, when you encounter a problem, you always want to make sure that you solve it. But you want to make sure that you put in that mechanism in place that a lot of people can follow. And make sure that we're actually following through consistently to solve those problems or get additional information. We also use different mechanisms in our day-to-day business. So one of those could be our quarterly business review, and sometimes the monthly business news. I hate this part, to be honest. But we utilize these mechanisms to make sure that we get a deeper understanding of our business. We're communicating to our upper leadership so they get an understanding of what each of our team are doing, so we can continue to solve and iterate on different issues and problems. So one of our hallmark mechanisms is the working backwards process. This is one that we use to produce any new product or service. Every new customer-facing product or service developed uses the Amazon backwards process. The mechanisms really make sure that we're providing the right thing for our customers. We're thinking it through. We are sure that we remain customer obsessed from very beginning of any idea that we have here at Amazon or at AWS. And as always, everything what we're doing comes from the customer. So we want to know who they are, what are their needs, and what are their pain points. So we usually will say that here at AWS, 90% of the features that we develop are from the things that comes from our customers. It's from their feedback. And they've said, hey, can you create this new feature for us? Or I'd love to see this new feature at AWS. So about 19% of things that we create come from our customers. The additional 10% really comes from us. So yeah, I have to say this. Well, of course, we have a mechanism for that, and that's called our 5 customer questions. And with these questions, they're very simplistic. When you first look at them, so they answer who's the customer, most important customer benefit, how do you know what customer need or want, what does the customer experience look like. And yeah, of course, I have it here for you, so take a picture of that. You can use it by your own. So you could spend 5 minutes on these questions. You could probably spend 5 months or more on these questions. It really just depends on the level of detail that you need, what you're looking for. But the idea behind these questions is to really get that good sense of where you are in the process, where you're finding your approach, making sure that you have the answer for those questions before proceeding. And once you get the good feeling of these questions answered and you really feel comfortable, then you are ready to start the backworking process. The third element that we'll examine about how we approach innovation and organize towards innovation will be our architecture. And I think it's one of the most important things. We hire people who are excited to wake up every day and look for customer experience that they can improve or iterate or reinvent altogether. People who are excited about building the future on behalf of their customers. But you need to provide these builders a performant architecture and a platform and a robust set of tools that really enables them to invent that future and frees them up from concerns. We've learned how to do this through our own journey. And I'll share a little bit about that with you now. So, more than a decade ago, Amazon, like a lot of other companies, had a single monolithic architecture. And a business logic and the future were all centralized within this monolithic architecture. And everyone was coding against it as well. And this tightly coupled architecture was really efficient when Amazon was small. But as the company and the businesses scaled, it began to impact the speed. And that's a problem for us. You couldn't change, for example, code without really risking affecting downstream services. There could also potentially longer waits for build and deploying resources against the single monolithic architecture. And the people really started struggling to coordinate and even communicate, and that's a problem. There was no clear line around who owned which code. You really had to research, and that took time. So it started to create a little bit of inflexibility and impacted the speed of our businesses and also the businesses of our clients. And we just weren't making progress as fast as we really wanted to. So around the year 2000, we started the process of breaking down this monolithic architecture into a microservice-oriented architecture. We started separating this monolithic architecture into discrete domains and databases. For example, one specifically for orders, another for fulfillment, one for our website, one for our customers and their data, and so on and so forth. So today there are hundreds of thousands of these microservices at Amazon. The diagram that you're looking at here is just one part of our AWS business, which each small blue dot representing single standalone Microsoft. So these are all black blue dots. You actually do see some lines between or shading that presents how some of these microservices call each other. But you can still see that there are single standalone services, and they really form discrete building blocks and help us move fast in our business. All of the underlying business logic and data are all within one single service, and they are only expanded through others. This highly decoupled architecture really allowed servers to run independently of each other. So also migrating and validating the microservice is much easier than having to do it and one huge monolithic architecture. So let's take a look. By doing this, we fundamentally change our architecture. So there is no gatekeeper anymore. There's no line to wait for storage, compute, databases, or start using machine learning. In the past, when you asked an engineer how long it might take to get a server to try or experiment, you get an answer like 10 to 12 weeks. In the cloud, you can provision thousands of servers within minutes, and that's amazing. So then we have over 200 services that you can put all together and use in whatever combination you want. This totally changed an organization, impact the amount of cycles employees spending thinking about innovation, because they know if they have an idea, they have the chance to see if it works. This expands the group of people inside a company that are thinking about new ideas from select few to everyone. So our architecture really supports and accelerates the way we can address innovation and address our customer needs really in 3 big ways. So first, we are able to prototype really rapidly. With AWS, you have access to a very robust set of tools and technology offering that lets go from an idea to implementation in a record time. Second, it really lowers cost for failure. As it expands the group of people thinking and experimenting and testing different things with customer, it really increased the amount of ideas that are being acted upon. Because people know that as they have them, they can just go and experiment. It's the same like the Amazon Go store. So, and with that pay-as-you-go pricing, it's much cheaper to experiment. You can scale up or down if you want. So you can really only pay for what you use. And if an idea isn't working, you can just turn it off altogether. The third really big benefit is when we do find something that works, we can scale it incredibly rapidly. So AWS enables customers to deploy globally in minutes. And with this elasticity to really flex with business needs, whether that's through seasonally or spikes, and basically adjust automatically to these needs of your businesses. So now we're at the end of the presentation, but just want to give you just a quick reminder of what we discussed around these 3 elements. So the first one was our culture. It really speaks to how we have these set of level of beliefs around our leadership principles that help us guide ourselves and bring everybody on the same page. The second part was our mechanisms. Those are the things that we have in place to make sure that we can bring those good intentions into action frequently and quickly. And then we also have our architecture that really support our builders, allows them to move at faster clip and can make sure that they continue to grow and change whenever they need to. So we have that flexibility, and that's important. So thank you all for joining me for Amazon's Culture of Innovation. I hope that you found it, beneficially informative, and I hope to see you again soon. Thank you, everybody, and have a good day.
Welcome back. For those of you that don't know me, I'm Marius. I'm the event manager at DALIM Software, working at the marketing department. As my colleague Aristide already told you, before you leave and enjoy the evening or the afternoon, depending where you are, I will walk you through the upcoming events that we will have until the end of the year, where you could join and participate as well. So just as a quick reminder for all of you that are registered for tomorrow, we will meet on the golf course of our local golf course at the Kempferhof. We are sponsoring this event together with KPMG and some local companies. We will have In the morning, a golf tournament for the amateurs and some beginner lessons for those of you who are not playing golf on a regular basis. You should have in your email box already a full agenda for tomorrow where everything is summarized. Next week, we are also sponsoring another French event in Paris called La Nuit du Livre, translated the Night of Books, where our CEO, Carole Werlé, will hand over the award winning for the best comic book author and publisher. So we'll be there as well. On the 15th and 16th of September, we are back in the United States on a big trade show, the Henry Stewart DAM event, where we'll be exhibiting, have a full booth. We will have several of our experts there, also our product manager and our American business developer. So you can come by at booth 19. We will be there, and we are happy to see you there. Following by that, we are making sure we respect our German heritage. But more seriously, we are joining the Oktoberfest. For those of you that are not aware of the concept of the Oktoberfest, it's a worldwide biggest beer festival, basically, where we will have 2 tables on the 25th and 26th of September. We are still have some spots open. We will have some networking going on there. Our CEO will go there, but also some of our experts and business partners and clients. So if you're interested in, just reach out to us at marketing.dalim.com, and we will be happy to drink a fresh German beer with you. Following by that, we will continue in the United States with a big event, the Printing United Expo in Las Vegas. We will be at the Las Vegas Convention Center, have a big booth. If you want to join for all printers out there in the United States, you're more than welcome. And to finish up the big trade shows, we will also be in the UK at the Marketing Technology Expo with also our product manager that will walk you through our new DALIMES interface. And if you are interested in the presentation that have been made by Aristide and Liam, you will discover much more during these events. So just drop by, and we will be happy to see you again on site in real life. Before you leave, I just want to remind you, last but not least, that we have, like every year, our worldwide technical meeting in the first week of December. We already have the landing page, so if you want to to be informed, please sign up on this landing page, and it will be like last year in Strasbourg, 2 days of presentation and 2 days of training. So you can sign up right now, apply on the landing page, and I hope to see you there on site. To wrap up this webinar, I want to thank all the speakers that came. Thank you for the wonderful presentations. We will have some drinks, do some networking, and for all of you that joined online, I want also to thank you, and see you next time for next webinar. Thanks.